Love it.
You'll eventually get to where you want to be. As long as you keep practicing, keep learning, and don't stop, you will get there.
All right, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Creative Haven. I'm here with the ever so talented director, Mark Haynes, who I met through another friend I met through LinkedIn. It's a huge LinkedIn family and all here in Texas. And Mark and I had just a great meeting over the phone and over Zoom. And I felt that, he would bring some incredible information and stories and just fun discussions about filmmaking and direction on this podcast. But I'm going to let him talk more about himself. So, Mark, tell us more about your background and how you got to where you are today.
Okay. Well, I started off straight out of high school, moved up to Dallas. I'm originally from South Texas, and I moved up here to go to school at the Art Institute for video production. And I was just started making short films with a buddy of mine in high school, and found out that you can actually go to school for that. So it's like, what the hell, give it a shot. And had a lot of fun, learned a lot at the Art Institute, started freelancing after that as, camera operator, editor, cinematographer, and then eventually decided that I kind of felt like I was plateauing in my career. So I wanted to go take my education a little further. And I got a master's at the American Film Institute in LA in cinematography. And I think that's the thing where I learned, more than I thought I could learn. You hit the point where it's like you don't know what you don't know. And that was a big jump from where I was to kind of, I guess, where I am now. And it just made me realize you can never know it all, and you're always going to keep learning. So I try to keep learning and read regularly, and industry publications, articles, and just stay on top of how the technology is changing and how people are using it. But
So for you as a cinematographer these days, how do you feel about the new technology? Let's talk about that. What are you excited about shooting with these days?
A lot to be excited about. Like larger sensors in cameras are really, the sensitivity of some of the sensors coming out is just insane. Like there's a Panasonic, I forget the model name, but it's got dual ISO of like I think 500 and 2000 or 4000, and seeing the footage of this camera shooting at night 4000 with no supplemental lighting going through like a downtown city street it's really amazing. And to think about that and cameras that we've kind of been using for years, any kind of camera we've been using for years is just it's you kind of need less light now. It used to be you need a whole lot of light and you need a lot of fill, and then with digital coming out you didn't need nearly as much fill. You kind of needed to like take away some light, and now it's like just any light, almost too much light at 4000 ISO.
It's crazy to think about that, because you're always taught you need the right lighting, you need the right exposure, we're using a light meter, or just just proper filmmaking fundamentals. And then these cameras come out, and like you said, you can shoot in a dark at night without any lights at all and just use moonlight as your fill and your key, and that's all you need.
Incredible. Yeah, I think the AS7 III has like you can go to like 56,000 ISO and just I've seen footage I've literally seen music videos shot by moonlight, and it's incredible, like to think that you can do that. And I'm sure the technology will just keep getting better as far as sensors go. But between the larger sensors, which ultimately they'll give you better resolution, but also give you more compression in the lenses that you use. The larger the sensor, like the longer the lens you need for like a wider angle of view. It really kind of allows you to tell stories in different ways. So it's a lot of exciting stuff. And they all just seem to be getting cheaper.
Yeah, right. So how, as a trained cinematographer that went to AFI, and then you out there in the industry, you showed me some of your spots, you're directing, you're shooting, and with these brands that you're working with, you know, because you also told me about this new camera that that your friend just purchased, which is a new piece of technology.
Yeah.
How has all this new technology helped you with your creative vision?
Well, it kind of allows you to, when you come straight out of school, you kind of don't have anything. You don't have any money. You don't have any
Hmm.
prospects. So you're just trying to like look for what you can do first. But when you start, getting access to these pieces of technology, it just allows you to really kind of see like how far you can stretch it before you break it. It's like a rubber band. Like, how far can I go? And then it really starts, you start taking things that you've learned along the way and figuring out how to scale them up, like for what you were talking about, the friend of mine getting it's called the Kira arm, which is a motion control robot arm. And when you see kind of how people have used it before, and then you think of ways you'd like to use it, like ways you like to utilize that motion control and that repeatability, um, it allows you to start kind of digging into like all these other things you've used. Like, for instance, something you and I talked about was uh, a lot of, in still photography, the photographers will put lights in lots of different places and move them around and take photos, and they'll comp it all together. And you have this one beautifully lit shoe or
Hmm.
whatever. And to do the same thing in video, you need that repeatable motion. And
Hmm.
so one of the things that I've been wanting to do is do that with this motion control arm, and then just move the lights around to basically animate the lights in and out, pass by pass, through through a single take, and just kind of see what comes out the other side from that.
Oh man, that's so smart. And then you're just playing with the dynamic range of the shadows and the highlights and
Wow.
finding ways to, it's like an HDR photo or like when you can really
Exactly.
you can just capture all the data for the highlights and the shadows and also
Yes.
yeah, I can't wait to see that. And
Yeah, I mean, if you can take multiple passes and do, one for the background, one for the backlight,
mhm.
even having moving lights in the take as well, like it's just, I don't know, for me, like lighting really excites me. So getting to test something like that out and, you know, work the kinks out of it is like something that's really exciting to me. So for me, it's
Nice.
just those little things that you keep getting into, those little problems that you got to keep trying to solve that are the exciting parts of the job for me.
So I know you love shooting, you love lighting. What drew you towards filmmaking, cinematography, and lighting?
Honestly, I grew up loving movies. I grew up, just loving, and from that, like as soon as I touched the camera for the first time in high school, like I knew like this is something it's just so much fun, and trying to recreate that. For me, it was like you see something that these people make, and then you try it yourself for the first time, and you look at it, you're like, oh, that looks like crap. How did it? And then so you start trying to figure out, well, what did they do to make it look the way they made it look? And you find out, oh, lighting. So then you start messing around with lighting, and you get a step closer, and you're like, okay, cool, I got the lighting down. And then you're like, well, there's still something missing. Camera movement, okay.
Mm,
And then, shallow depth of field. And so for me, learning to analyze, uh, what I'm seeing in a movie and what I'm seeing in my own frames,
mm,
and problem solve and kind of reverse engineer, like, how can I make something that I've seen? Like, how can I make something that I've seen that Emmanuel Lubezki shot or Roger Deakins shot,
mm.
or any any of the great DPs? Like, how can I recreate that myself? And then that kind of takes you into the journey of trying to figure that out, trying to reverse engineer that. And the cool thing is that whether you hit it or not, you usually discover something else in the process, and that kind of adds to your repertoire of like, your bag of tricks. You kind
Mhm.
of all these little mistakes that you make along the way usually end up being like assets for you in the long run. So it's cool, like just messing up while you're trying to create something uh, can end up being even cooler than what you were trying to create in the beginning. So
Right, right. It's like that, when you shoot a video and you think about like a throwaway shot, or you just didn't turn off your camera and you do this
yeah,
weird camera shake, and then you're like, that camera shake is a great transition.
yeah,
And so
I've done that.
Yeah, and then for you, when I know that now that you were working with spots, right, with
Mhm.
commercials as well as branded content, how are you able to translate cinematic storytelling when it comes to shots to a 30-second spot and a 15-second spot to convey the emotions
Mhm.
that you want to convey?
I feel like, visual storytelling is the most important thing. I mean, I don't know. I say that because I'm a trained cinematographer,
Hmm.
but I feel like being able to, if you can tell a story to your audience without words,
Right.
or if you can if you can use the camera to communicate something without actually saying it, I feel like your message is a lot stronger, because every commercial does still have dialogue. It has people talking, but if you can make it to where someone can mute the TV and watch it and get the emotions that you're trying to convey, then you've succeeded. And it's kind of like, I don't know, there's a thing on TikTok right now, like, tell me you're something without actually telling me you're something. It's like you're trying to tell me the story without actually telling me the story, like, show me the story. And so for me, that's the exciting part. And I think whenever I'm directing, I take that aspect of how I approach things, as a cinematographer, and I approach things directing that way, to where the words are almost, supplementary to what's going on screen, rather than, uh, you know, the purpose. Like, the words aren't just driving the entire thing. It's like the
Hmm.
visuals are driving it. So using editing to show the juxtaposition of these things, and I don't know, I feel like for everything that's, in our visual medium of, like, visual storytelling, being able to convey the emotion that you're wanting to convey, whether it be a commercial or whether it be, a narrative story that you're trying to tell. You want the person watching to feel what you want them to feel in that moment. And so that's the most important thing when you're choosing your lenses, when you're choosing, how you're going to light them, whether you want smoke in the air, whether you want shafts of light, like, everything kind of comes down to, like, how do I want the person to feel? And is this shot telling that part of the story to get to that point?
Oh man, love that. You're speaking to my heart because I always agree that the visual part of just the editing, right, combined with cinematography and direction and performances from the actors,
Yeah.
is the best way to create a video without the sound. Because sometimes people are watching without sound. Most likely,
Yeah.
people are watching without sound these days, and I love watching and creating videos where you can watch it without the sound on. You can get the message, you can see the emotions, and then you can feel what people are supposed to feel in that moment.
Yeah.
And so, hold on one second,
Sure.
I'll put this on real quick.
Yeah. No worries.
But yeah, I think that what you need to do, I think that the best thing about editing and cinematography together is that you are both trying to tell the story that you originally came up with, let's say with a writing, with a
Mhm.
script or a treatment. But
Yeah.
then what you're doing with the editing is that you're taking what you shot and what you edited and also what you wrote and trying
Yeah.
to create that outline or that pitch or that treatment. Though I've
Yeah.
heard sometimes it's different, right? Sometimes
Mhm.
it's what you write is different from what you direct, and it's also what's
Oh yeah.
different when you edit.
Yeah.
And so how do you work with the creative pre-production, production, and post-production so that everything becomes succinct and lines up with your vision or the client's vision?
Mhm. I for the last few spots I've done, I've actually written them as well, uh, as directed them. So for me, it was easy. Like, I wrote into the spot what I wanted to see. So I created my own visuals that way. Um, so yeah, I guess, but I've, to your point, like, have you heard the phrase, the saying that movies made three times? It's when it's written, when it's shot, and when it's edited. And it's
Yep.
completely true, because things change
Mhm.
all the time. We're doing rewrites until the day, and so yeah, I really think that just having a deep understanding of the story, and, like, what's the base, like, what is the emotional beat of the story, that's the most important thing you want to tell. And I feel like that's the thing that you have to focus on, as far as when you're shooting it. And then
Hmm.
it goes for the same thing when you're editing it, like everything kind of like hinges around that moment that you're trying to communicate, like the actual story, like the actual message of the, what, if it's a commercial or whatever,
Hmm.
whether you're trying to hit a joke or whether you're trying to have an emotional, like kind of like heartfelt moment. Um, yeah, just really understanding the script and the characters in the script. I think for me helps me figure out, one, what's realistic, because lots of times you'll get on set and you'll read the script and you'll talk to the actor, they'll read the lines and you're like, it's just not, it doesn't feel real,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
so you have to like kind of like mess with it right there. But I don't know if I'm answering your question. I feel
No,
like
no,
I'm
no, no,
just
no, no, no.
feeling
It's
off.
true. No, no, it's when you're trying to coordinate pre-production, production, and post-production to make sure that it aligns with the vision that you originally have. It's tough because you are right. When you get on set, there are certain shots, right? You come up with a shot list or even a storyboard. You get on location and you realize, well, this time of day sucks. This doesn't look great, or it just didn't come out the way you planned with the actress or actor themselves. And even in
Mhm.
post, like you said, you'll find that one shot that it was a throwaway that you realize this is freaking amazing, or this
Yeah,
was practice take that actually is funnier than the script itself.
yeah,
It's something that I'm dealing with now. Of course, when people ask for the storyboard, right? When clients ask for a
yeah,
storyboard, and it's like they approve the storyboard. Everything has to be to the book with the storyboard and
yeah,
the shot list and the creative brief. And then in the post production part of things, like you as a creative, you also have to throw in your voice and your own creative expertise to lead the client in the right direction through your own
yeah.
experience, knowing like
Mhm.
what from past experiences, like this is not going to work, or this looks too fake, this is inauthentic, I think we should go this direction. So how
Yeah,
do you deal with, of course, client notes when it deals with an original vision that you have or the client has, and
yeah.
then you have your own rendition at the end, your own director's cut that you feel would be better for the actual spot?
Yeah, I think it kind of one of the most important things as far as communicating with the client is like you have to build trust with them beforehand. And you're ultimately, when you have a client, you're working with them, you're trying to solve a problem for them, by creating this video. And so you want to make sure you're staying true to doing that. And everybody kind of gets locked into their own opinions sometimes, and it's not, it's just the exact same with clients. So what I'll do is, I'll cover the things they want me to cover, and then I'll cover the things that I want to cover. And in post, my editor will put it together, and most of the time they'll look at it and be like, yeah, you know what, we like it this way. Like I'll show it to them both ways. They're like, well, we want to do this, but we want to do it this way. I'm like, okay, cool, we're definitely going to do that. But I want to just try something like this real quick, and we've got some time in the schedule, so we're going to do that as well. And then usually, like, I'll frame it up, and they're like, ooh, that's nice. I like that too. Yeah. And then when we show it to them in the edit, like a month later, they're like, oh yeah, that works way better. But if
That's
it
right.
doesn't, then it doesn't, and that's something that you know, as a director and cinematographer, like you always gotta be ready to have your ideas shot down, and it happens, and it's okay. You're not going to win all your battles, and sometimes you'll make a video and you want it to go one way, and they're like, no, we like this, and you completely disagree with them in every way, but they're the one that's paying for it. They're the ones who wants it this way. So
Right.
you have to give them what they want. But in those instances, I'll usually recut it myself and just have something for my reel.
So true. I totally know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And then for you, when you transition, of course, like with filmmaking, you got into this because of movies, and
Mhm.
then when you get into, of course, ads and spots, and then now using technology, do you feel like the original storytelling of cinema gets lost in digital media and also short form, or is it like an evolution now? Do you see when it comes to modern day content creation and storytelling?
I think part of it gets lost sometimes, but I don't know. I mean, you can people like to hold on to things a certain way, and I think sometimes it's a good thing about being traditionalist and saying like this is the way stories are told. But now it's
Mhm.
like you see people telling stories in different ways, and that's the way they're learning how to do it, and that's the way
Mm.
they're creating. It's I don't know. For me, saying this is the way things are supposed to be and this is the way stories are supposed to be told is limiting because that stops us from growing and that stops us from using our creativity to tell different ways. It may not be your favorite medium to do, like, but stories are being told on TikTok and stories are being told in tons of different ways, tons of different aspect ratios, like
Right.
when I was at AFI and we were shooting stuff, and they were like, sometimes you're going to do commercials and sometimes you're going to have to shoot, you know, uh, vertically rather than 60:9 or 185, or because you're shooting commercial for just directly for an iPhone. And the idea of that back then is like, oh, scoff. But now it's like, people, that's how people are watching it. You're
Yeah.
making media, you're making stories for people who view it in all sorts of different ways. And the way a lot of people view their content now is just on their phones.
Yep.
And that's just kind of a way that things are changing. I don't think it'll ever go away, the traditional methods of storytelling, the 3 act play of a script or anything, but there's also just new ways coming out. And I think that, if you want to embrace it, that's great. I think there's a lot of opportunities if you embrace these changes, but there's also, you know, there's still the other way will be around for a long time. I mean, there are still theater plays out.
Of course.
And I'm sure when the first camera came out and they started making movies, they're like, why would you do that? You just go to the theater and watch a play. But now it's that same thing with something else.
That's right. And you think about, radio and podcasts
Yeah.
and everything, and of course, voice is coming back. So there'll always be a market for cinema. I know I'm for one, and I love being a traditionalist. I also love the evolution of content creation and technology, and
Yeah.
it gives the technology and the medium of storytelling and visual storytelling in the hands of people who didn't have access before, and that's powerful. And so I think that
Yeah.
was we embrace the fact that TikTok videos are going to be a norm, vertical videos in short form, that we're also seeing a
Yeah.
lot of TikTokers coming out from India, right? And a lot of people from Asia. And we're
Mhm.
finally seeing talent from a culture and actually a whole continent that never had access to Ari Alexas and Red cameras or
Yeah.
distribution on, on broadcast and theaters. Well, you
Yeah.
know what? You can see them on YouTube and TikTok, and that's beautiful. Now, for you, when you have to create these treatments and scripts and come up with a shot list and a storyboard, how do you get inspired? How do you get into your creative flow so that you can come up with these ideas?
I rely heavily uh, on references, either still
Hmm.
references or actual, spots or movies or scenes. Um, that I'll take something like that and I'll find pieces that I like out of it based off of like how, in the script, like what the emotion is, what are we trying to convey, and then I'll find something that's matching to that to show the client. And that's usually how I sell something through like a treatment, is take lots of visual references, show what the look and feel is going to be, and then show them an actual, clients sometimes have really great imaginations, sometimes have no imagination. So you kind of got to show them what they're going to get before you shoot it. You got to show them the finished film before you actually shoot it, and you got to get them something as close to uh, what you're trying to accomplish as you can, so they have a good idea of like where you're going visually. And so I try to do my best in finding multiple references, finding tons of images to give them, and then being as detailed I can in the scripts as what we're trying to do, like for what we're trying to do in order to sell to them. And then once we have that, like a lot of the creative work is done. And then it's just finding locations that are going to fit those scenarios of, for these characters to play in, and also fit for, is there enough room in this place for my camera to do the move that I want it to do? Are there enough windows to get these shafts of light coming in? Like that's, then you start going into the technical. But
That's right.
yeah, for me, finding inspiration in other people's work, whether it's people I know or, someone, a director in Russia, and it's,
Right.
everything's just subtitled for American audiences. Like yeah, I try to use them as much as I can, especially with commercial stuff, because it gets people excited. They see something,
Mhm.
and you're like, we're going for this for your product, and they can see it now. They can see it in their head, like exactly what it's going to look like, and then your job is just to deliver on that. That's it.
No, that's
Just
that's
deliver.
that's that's great. I mean, once you have the actual storyboard and your shot list and then visual references, and you have it in your head. It's really
Yeah,
just the client trying to make sure that they get what they see or they ask for, and
yeah.
not because there are people who are nervous that, okay, I can't really trust you that you will execute the vision that we originally had. But creating that mood board and creating those storyboards and building that trust with the client, it's very important. Now, we talked about how you work with clients, but now so the agency owners and the companies out there who are listening, what are like the best ways that you found that a company and a brand should be treating you as a director to make sure that the project actually gets executed in the best way possible?
I would say, trust. Trust me.
Just trust Mark, okay?
Yeah.
Just give him idea, he'll execute.
I mean, I'm always open to, client ideas and everything moving, once we start a project. I want to hear that. So what I want them to give me, other than trust, is, as much information on what they want and why they want it. Like give me the information of, sometimes someone will say, I want to make this video. And it's important to understand why, because you can make a video and it's not going to hit the nail on the head at all, because you're not actually addressing the thing that they need addressed. And sometimes they think that you are, but you may not necessarily be doing that. So understanding the why can get you closer to understanding how you can accomplish
Hmm.
what they're actually hoping it can do. They're usually not the expert on like what's going to make something work, or
Mhm.
what's going to have an idea actually come through, or what is the real idea that they want to come through. And sometimes that just takes long conversations of digging into, if it's something about a product, you got to really dig into like, what does the product do? What is the thing about this product that people need to know about, and what makes it different. And from there comes these little gems that you can then add into the script or highlight that you would have thought about before, and you may not have even thought about on set. And later on, they're like, we didn't address this thing, and the whole video was, the one thing I really needed to do. And because you didn't have that conversation with them, they didn't share that
Mm.
with you. uh, you failed them, and they're mad at you, and then they don't trust you anymore.
Mhm.
So I think just for me, I always try to approach a client with, trying to figure out what their problem is. What is the problem that they're trying to solve for themselves, and understand that the best I can. And so them just talking as much as they can about it, and giving you as much detail about it as possible, is the thing that I don't know helps me give them what they need.
Love it. It's communication and then
Yeah, it's
trust.
the trust, and that's a big
Yeah.
thing. I mean, it's when you're doing something for a client, it's they're usually spending quite a bit of money, uh, and you want to make sure that they feel taken care of. And so, lots of times they can, just kind of be breathing down your throat, and I get that. I totally get that. They're people want to micromanage, but I feel like giving people the ability to be free and do what you hired them for, I think is the best thing to do. And whenever I, you know, hire a gaffer or first AC or camera operator, I try to give them a little, I don't want to keep them on a tight leash. I want them to be creative too. And people, I feel like, do their best work when they're allowed to do something that makes them proud, rather than just say, move that there, do this, if you just giving them instructions to do, they're just, they feel like robots. But when you give them the ability to, choose a camera position, and you like it, it's like, great. Like, I wouldn't have chose that camera position. That's so, giving people autonomy to do their own things. And I feel like if clients can give us that, we can give them something really crazy, you know, really cool.
Love that. That's really why there's a director's cut, right? Usually there's
Yeah.
the idea of giving people giving the client or the people who are paying for the actual project what they want, but then
Yeah.
actually having your vision come across. But I think that clients should, of course, have communication, let people like us know, directors and video creators and writers know, what they truly want, what they really want to get out of that, and also trust our expertise. We've been in this business for a long time. We've been trained.
Yeah.
We're not just coming off the street with a phone camera trying to get this done. We paid money to go to college, so
Yeah.
we have some sort of knowledge of what can be right. At the same time, we can't come in arrogant, saying we know everything, and so that
Definitely.
whatever we do is best, and so you just listen to us. But Mark, let me ask you then, for you, when it comes to, I love what you said about uh, leading gaffers and grips and giving them autonomy and also helping them work towards a goal that they have in their career. What do you find is like the best way to run a set so that you have the most efficient production?
The best way to run a set. Hmm, that's an interesting question. I like to run a set. I mean, I feel like I run a pretty tight ship. I keep track of my own time a lot of the time just to make sure that I'm where I'm supposed to be. But I'd say the best procedure is what I, tried and true, what I learned at AFI is just, you block the scene out, whatever it is. Let the people, get talent out of there. You let the lighting people light it, and then you shoot. Block, light, shoot, and repeat. And that's, I think, the best way to go, because a lot of times you won't block it out. You'll have people light it. They'll spend 2 hours lighting a scene, and then the actors will go in there and they're like, this isn't the blocking isn't working here.
Mm.
And then you got to pull them out and relight. And so that takes time away. So the best thing to do is just put the actors where they're supposed to be, rehearse
Mhm.
it once, have everybody look at it. And then the actors know what they're doing. Uh, the lighting, the camera people know what they're doing. They know where their marks are. And then the lighting people know where they need to be. Uh, and so same thing with art, the art department. As soon as you pull the actors out, the art department can go in, the lighting people can start, your gaffer and your key grip can start putting lights, their M40 out the window going in and fogging up the whole place. Your camera department's changing lenses and going off of a movie onto sticks or onto a dolly. And so you really, being able to see what you're going to do right before you do it is better. I know a lot of people I've been on a lot of sets where it's not like that. It's
Yeah.
not that routine and that protocol. And a lot of time is wasted and it feels more frantic, you know,
God,
but
I love that. Thanks for that. Block, light, shoot.
block, light, shoot. There's a
Oh, yes, yes,
cinematographer named
yes.
Patrick Cady, and we learned a lot from him at AFI. He shot like, I think, 5 seasons of Bosch and
Nice.
kind of other. He shot Grill Fright, and he actually had a hat made up where it was a block, a light bulb, and a gun. He's like, block,
Boom.
light, shoot.
That's
and
that's that's invaluable information for a
Yeah,
lot of the young cinematographers, directors, and video creators out there.
yeah, it's the way it's been done for about 100 years, and people keep trying to find ways to reinvent it, and it's still the most efficient way to run a set as far as actually shooting. Um, the other thing is I'd make sure you just have the right amount of people, know kind of what you're trying to accomplish, and that doesn't mean like more people are better, because I've run sets with like, you know 15 people in G&E and two cameras, just like 40, 50 person sets.
Hmm.
And it takes longer. I mean, you can get a lot more done, but it takes longer to get there because there's a lot of people that need to do their job before you get started. So I kind of like around a 15 person crew. I feel like that's like this, things run smooth. You got like two or
Yep.
three people in G&E, you got like two or three people in art. You're running with one camera and you're just setting up. All right, rehearsing. Cool. We got the marks. All right, let's roll on this one and go. And
Love it.
you know, you can just sail. You can easily knock out like 30, 40 shots a day.
Dude, this is great. I think that it's I love how your process really goes down to efficiency and also fundamentals. and at the same time being adaptable to the situation. And Mark, I know you're a busy person. Have to go. And before we drop off, I wanted to ask you, what is your advice actually for a lot of the young directors or cinematographers out there who want to find a career in uh, commercial directing and cinematography and shooting?
I think it's really simple. It's just don't stop. Don't
Mm,
give up. Just keep doing it. If you've got like a day job right now, do it on the weekends, do it. Just keep improving, but just keep trying to do it. If you're a freelancer now and, you know, you're having a hard time because things are slow, pandemic is things are slowly coming back to the way they were, but just don't stop. Don't give up. If you don't give up, you will reach your goal. It's like not a question of like, will I? Like you won't, you will get it. Like that's it. You just can't stop.
love it.
You'll eventually get to where you want to be. As long as you keep practicing, keep learning, and don't stop, you will get there. And that's, everybody, everybody I know, like every cinematographer I know or director I know has gone through times where they're just like, should I just give up? I don't know if I'm going to make it. I don't know
Mm,
if I'm going to get there. And something will eventually click with somebody and you'll start getting more and more work. And then before you know it, you're doing it all the time and it's just your job, and you won't even realize that you've made it, but you'll be there, you'll be doing it.
nice.
So I would just say, just keep doing it. And if you want to keep rising up in your career and in your level of expertise, just keep learning, keep reading books, read, if you're a cinematographer, read, the American Cinematographer magazine, uh, read ICG,
Mhm.
um, just find anything you can read, join book, groups on Facebook or look at other cinematographers on Instagram that you admire and just keep learning, keep growing your knowledge, keep growing like your network of like friends and colleagues, and eventually you'll know everybody,
Yeah.
everybody in town. And yeah, just keep doing it.
Love it.
That's all there is to it, really, is just keep doing it. And it's definitely frustrating when you're working your way up and you're not there yet, but like that's the only thing you can really do is just keep doing it. Reaching out to
Amen.
people, coming out of your comfort zone sometimes to reach out to a director or just anybody. Reach out to somebody and talk to them about it. And eventually, you'll be the person someone's reaching out to for help.
That's right. No, that's amazing advice and something that a lot of people who have a creative passion, especially in the film industry and the commercial industry, should really take to heart because it can get very frustrating at first, though if you just
Yeah.
keep doing it and just keep believing, you'll get there. And as corny
Yeah.
as it sounds, it really is part of the plan. But thanks so much, Mark. This is great talking to you. And before we go, man, can you let us know where to find you out online and how can we support?
Yeah. So I have a website, haynesdp.com. You can find my cinematography work there. And then I've got my company is called Manifest Imageworks, and you can find my work there at thinkmanifest.com.
Nice. Well, Mark, thank you so much, brother. I appreciate you. And thanks for hopping on today. And can't wait to keep seeing your work, especially that robot arm.
I will send it to you. Thanks, Mitchell.
Awesome. Thanks
I
so
appreciate
much.
it. All right. Have a good day.
You too.
Bye bye.
Thank you for listening to the Creative Haven podcast. And if you dig it and like what you heard today, please give us a nice review and rating and share it with one of your friends that you think needs some creative inspiration. You can always find more content and resources at thecreativehaven.com and hit me up on Instagram at Mitchel Dumlao. And if you want to reach out, collab, or ask any questions, you have my permission to slide into my DMs. So keep positive, continue to learn and hone your craft, and create all day. Salamat.